Hi, this is David Stanko for AmericanSalon.com. Join me every other week to hear me interview industry celebs and other interesting folks.
Hi, American Salon fans. It's David Stanko here, and I am honored to bring you the man behind the scenes of the L'Oreal Professional Products Division right here in New York City, Mr. Pat Parenty. Hi, Pat. How are you today?
I'm doing great, David. How are you?
I'm good. Just a few words so that everyone knows who the heck you are. Pat and I have worked together for almost 20 years, and I have to say he's one of the most level-headed, easy-to-talk-to guys I know in the professional beauty biz. And every year we even get to exchange holiday cards, so I really feel like I'm on the inner circle with Pat.
One of my favorite moments, David.
Right, every year you get my card. But it's comforting to know that he's a guy that I can go to and chat with. It's sort of like when you know Pat, it's like flashing the bat symbol in the sky. You know, when Commissioner Gordon meets Batman. That's how I feel about Pat. So let's jump in. I mean, we're honored to have you do this elite group of questions, voices that matter. And Pat, in the world of L'Oreal in the United States, what are the brands that you're responsible for?
Well, that's an easy answer, David. First, I'd like to thank you for including me in the series. I've heard a couple of them, and they're quite enjoyable, so thanks for inviting me. So, L'Oreal Professional Products Division, I'm responsible for the Redken brand, the Matrix brand, Pureology, L'Oreal Professional, Mizani, L'Oreal, I said L'Oreal Professional. I knew I would mess this up, so you can edit that out. So Mizani, Essie, Uemura Art of Hair, Kérastase, L'Oreal Technique, and the distribution company Salon, Centric, also reports into me.
Wow. That sure makes for a full day, huh, Pat?
Probably all five of them, David.
Well, what do you attribute your success to? I mean, when you and I first met, you were the vice president of sales at Redken way back in the 90s. And now here you are, one of the top guys in the U.S. for L'Oreal. What do you attribute your success to? Just speak to that.
It's a hard question for me. I never like to talk about myself, David, but I think it's some very simple strategies that I've followed over the years. I think first and foremost, I've always enjoyed this business and have had a good vision as to what I believe it could be, and spent my time working towards that. I'm a man of my word, so I've always been very conscious of commitments I make and following through. I like to be a leader by example, so I'm willing to do whatever I'm asking somebody else to do. I also think it's super important in this business to stay very aware of what's happening outside of the business in beauty in general. So I've dedicated some of my time to that. And I think the last part is I've had a really good vision on people. So I've always been able to attract great people to work with me. And I think if you can inspire and motivate talented people towards a common vision, you can accomplish anything. And so if I were to say, to myself, why are you successful, I would look back at those things.
So is that what you would consider your legacy in some way?
Hopefully. It's always good to, I think, have a big vision and then watch the organization move towards it, and that's something that never really ends. It continues to evolve as you go forward.
Now, it's no secret that the world economy is up and down, and different countries are growing broke, and different countries are having wild success. What's your comment on the growth of the professional beauty business in the U.S.?
So, from my point of view, over the last, let's say, 5 years, I think we have returned to growth. I think that we all got a little lesson in the power of the economy back in 2008 and 2009. and have spent some time, I think, trying to get back to those levels. And I believe, my point of view, the last couple of years have been growth years. I would say 3% to 5%. I believe there are some categories that are growing very fast. I know the last 2 years, color has been a very fast-growing category in the professional beauty industry, and also the treatment and conditioner category has been growing quite quickly. So I think we are in good growth mode at this point in time.
Well, that's good news for all our listeners out there. And my next question for you has to do with what other trends do you see happening? And by that I mean, do you see salons in general trying to return to single brands in the dispensary and retail, or do you see them expanding into multiple different brands?
I think, from a trend perspective, you'll see both of those things, and I think both of those types of approaches to how you're going to manage and grow your salon are viable. So I don't think there's any one way that you should approach your business. There are different reasons to make a commitment to a single brand or have a multi-brand dispensary, such as, are you big into retail, so you're offering a lot of product to your customers because customers like selection and different options when they're shopping, or are you so committed to a brand that it's the brand that you want to recommend to your clientele to maintain the great service you just gave them and enjoy the benefits of having a really close relationship with the brand. So I think both work, David, and I'm not sure that one is better than the other. I think it depends on the culture of the salon, the vision of the salon, and the management of that salon, how they want to handle their business going forward.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Depends on the part of the country and the culture in the salon, as you mentioned. And speaking of salons, I know that we could probably talk for hours, but if you could just give me a little bit of a snippet, sort of the elevator chit-chat on what your thoughts are on commissioned salons versus this proliferation of suite or booth renter salons. What are some of the pros and cons that you see?
That's an interesting question, David. I think my answer to that is it depends, again, on the circumstances of the stylist or the salon owner. My comment would be, it's interesting. I've been in this business for over 30 years now. I remember in the late 80s, actually, when I joined, the conversation around booth renter was very negative. And so I've been here for the past 30 years, and what has happened in the marketplace is that particular model has grown. And as an executive in the business and someone very interested in its future, the pros and the cons that come with it are simply driven by the market. And my opinion, just my opinion, is that there are conditions in this market, conditions in this business that make that model a successful model for certain people. And I think my concern around it would be that they operate a great salon, if it's just one chair, that they have the education and they're providing the best service that they can provide, so that the image of the industry is improved by the service, or given a great impression to consumers. Because I think the big issue in the world for us is competing for the beauty dollars against all the other categories that are out there. And in order to win, we have to have great experiences for consumers in salons. And I think you can get one in a booth renter, but I know you can get one in a full-service salon also. So I think that they do have pros and cons. I think it's a big conversation, but I also believe that the market conditions allow it. So it's interesting.
Okay, so I'll let people ruminate that on their own, because it is a big topic out there. We've only got a couple more questions left, Pat, and something that I think you can speak on is the topic of diversion. It's something that comes up all the time with hairdressers. Can I just sort of pick your brain about that topic?
Sure. Yeah, you want to ask me another question, or you want me to just talk about it in general?
I know. Sometimes I forget to end my sentences with a question mark. No, but it really is.
I took it more as a statement.
About,
You're right.
it did sound like a statement. I'm sorry. So the question is, can you speak a little bit more about diversion in the professional salon business?
You know, David, it's a tough topic in as much as that it exists, and I think that the idea of products being sold outside of a channel is a difficult idea to understand. It's driven by demand, and I think that's the interesting part of it. But it's not a good thing for the industry to have products that are intended to be sold through salons in non-salon channels if that's what the intention of the manufacturer is. And I think that there's a lot of confusion around diversion, and it simply means that the product that is meant for one channel ends up in another channel. I think from a hairdresser point of view, it is something that you would want to be concerned about, but it's also something that you address yourself, and you can have a conversation with your client about why products get in and out of a channel. But what's most important from a hairdresser point of view is to provide your client with the best possible experience, including the service and their take-home retail. And if you believe in a product and you think that that's going to deliver the best results to maintain the look you've achieved with your client, then I think that you want to take the time or make the effort to sell them that. And if you do that, we know that the relationship between the service provider, the hairstylist, and the client is so trusting that they'd be happy to buy it from you if you tell them it's the right thing to use. And I think that is a responsibility that we have.
So that's a good point. As hairdressers, to finish the service after a great haircut or great hair color is how to duplicate this look, and that's something that can't be achieved outside of a salon. There's no one providing tutorials on the styling products to use, and that really is where our success lies. Would you agree with that?
I think that we have a responsibility to help them understand how to maintain that look, and I think in today's world, with all things digital and the technology that's available to us, we can have a great conversation in and out of the chair to give the client the information they need to be comfortable with that process.
Well, speaking of digital, Pat, do you have any comments on social media and how you see that playing out in the salon world, or how salons and stylists can best use this as a tool?
So what I would like to do, David, because I think social media is just one part of the digitalization of the professional beauty industry, and it's not just us, it's digitalization of the entire world in every industry. And to step back, you asked me earlier what trend I see, and I see very clearly the change in consumer behavior driven by many factors, one of them being the technology on how to communicate. And I think that it's super important that salon owners and individual hairstylists, and whether you're a cosmetologist, esthetician, or any professional beauty person, needs to understand the way that the clients and consumers of the world are making their decisions on which services and which products they want to use and why they're making those decisions, and most importantly, where they're making those decisions. So in my viewpoint, as I see how consumer behavior is changing, dedication and an understanding to all things digital is a must in the future for hairstylists and for salon owners. I think you need to have a digital strategy, which would include what is your website, what is your web presence, are you in blogging, are you doing those things? What is your social media strategy? And I think every hairdresser needs to understand that the consumers are looking for answers to hair issues, skin issues, beauty issues, or beauty opportunities, let's call it that, and they look for them all over social media. You mentioned tutorials and how-tos. I think the last count that I saw on Facebook alone, there are over 4 million how-to hair and skin videos available to consumers there, answering common questions, or common how-to techniques for how to handle your hair and skin issues. So from my point of view, it's a must be cognizant and must have a good strategy and understand how to play that world. And there's plenty of things that, first of all, L'Oreal can help you with. We have many programs around how to use social media, how to use digital, and how to play in all of those channels and what works in what channel. So we can help stylists and salon owners do that. But besides L'Oreal, there are other places to get that information. My recommendation is that if you're a salon owner or a stylist in today's world, that you become familiar with what the digital assets are available to you, and that you participate, learn the best practices, and have a strong strategy and execution against anything digital, including social media. It's super important, David. You have to understand now that's where people are making their decisions, and if you're not visible in that space, then you'll be invisible and you won't get new clients.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Pat. I have a colleague who is a very busy hair colorist, and when clients call in and they're unable to see her, she'll have the receptionist say, well, check out, so-and-so's Instagram, because you'll get a chance to see his before and after work, or her styling abilities, or the latest wedding that she did, and then call back and let me know if I'm not available, if you'd like to see that particular person. So I think that, in addition to all of the stuff you mentioned, that's also a grassroots way of using even Instagram just to show people some of your portfolio, so they want to come to you or not.
That's a great example, and you picked a great channel. Instagram is visual, and hairdressers are visual. Clients want to see what it's going to look like, so it's a great medium, great channel for our industry, and I think you can find Snapchat and even Facebook still has relevancy for our channel and the communication between professional beauty professionals and clients and consumers. So that's a great example.
Yeah, it's no secret that I take the worst selfie in the world, so I'm going to have to work on that on Instagram. But changing.
I'm sure there's a tutorial.
I'm sure there is. I haven't found it yet. I'm not
Google.
that good. I'm getting too old. So Pat, on a happier note, since you provided us with such rich content of the beauty business, what are some of the hobbies you like to engage in if it's not beauty related?
Well, I love to spend time with my wife and my son, so family activities are always great. I'm a huge water person. I'm actually a Pisces, and my entire life I've been attracted to the water. So fishing is a great hobby of mine, scuba diving and snorkeling, boating, or just anything to do with being on the water is how I like to spend my free time.
Yeah, that's funny. I texted Pat recently, and I said, "Do you mind if I call you?" And he said, "Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Call me on my cell phone." So I called and said, "Well, I hope I'm not interrupting your train or your commute into New York City." And he said, "Oh, heck no. I'm bass fishing right now."
And it was a great day. I caught a lot of fish that day.
That's fantastic. Well, Pat Parenty, I want to say thank you for being part of this group. American Salon fans that are listening to the Voices That Matter, Mr. Pat Parenty is certainly a voice that matters in our professional world. And anywhere you see his name, read his article. If you have a chance to hear him speak, please go and do so. And Pat, I want to thank you again for carving out 20 minutes of your very, very busy day to be part of our Voices That Matter on American Salon. Thank you, Pat.
David, I want to thank you and American Salon. It was my pleasure. I wish you a great day.